Gators Breakdown. Here we go again, episode 30. Keep piling these things up. Thanks for joining me, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC, on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. And you can find Gators Breakdown in multiple ways on YouTube. You can be watching live now, or you can catch the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. Join me there if you don't mind. Subscribe, like, share, all those good things to get Gators Breakdown out there and what we talk about all Gators all the time. In this episode of Gators Breakdown, we'll be talking about Geoff Collins leaving defensive coordinator position at Florida, why Randy Shannon should get the job, in my opinion, and recruiting profiles of Daquon Green and Kadarius Toney. So we got plenty to talk about moving forward. Didn't think Geoff Collins would be around too much longer at Florida. You've even heard in Jim McElwain's press conferences about how his coaches are being talked to, and you could probably think of a list of ones that might be upgraded or maybe not lateral positions at other schools. But you got to think it was not only Geoff Collins, but we saw last year Doug Nussmeier was being mentioned for the Southern Miss job. I think maybe Chris Rump's getting some calls out there, maybe for a defensive coordinator position somewhere, or maybe Randy Shannon's name was up for the Florida Atlantic job for a little while before Lane Kiffin took that job. He kind of pulled his name out before that, though. And then, of course, some other coaches maybe getting some looks somewhere. Tim Skipper maybe. But for now, Geoff Collins will be the only one leaving, as he has accepted the job at Temple. To take over Matt Rule, who left to go to Baylor. Rule's a defensive coach. Collins will kind of step in, of course, with that same role, a defensive background, to lead Temple. So you got to. I like Geoff Collins. I was a big Geoff Collins fan. I know some fans out there didn't care for the biggest thing was, he plays too much zone. Not as much as you really thought. If a play didn't work, it was people wanted to blame just because. He looked like he was maybe playing too much zone. That not really was the case. Bad plays happen. It just happens sometimes. Geoff Collins, to me, was one of the nation's best defensive coordinators, and it kind of showed why he was up for that Temple job. His Gators defense is ranked 6th in 2015 and 7th in 2016, this past season nationally in total defense. As far as what Jim McElwain was hired to come here and fix the Florida offense, it still was the Gator defense led by Geoff Collins, who helped Florida win the SEC East title 2 years in a row. So, of course, we know prior to his time at Florida, he came from Mississippi State. And he spent some time at Florida International, and a lot of people thought he might have been up for that job before Butch Davis got that job. But I'm sad to see Geoff Collins go. Brought a lot of excitement to the Gator defense. Of course, he had some good players to work with. A lot of those guys will be going on to the NFL, the Will Muschamp recruits, but in my opinion, didn't miss a beat. When Collins stepped in and just kind of took over there, he helped some development. The young linebackers, along with Randy Shannon, and that's who I think should be getting promoted, getting that job. Along with those two, really made the young linebackers look good. You see some young guys in the secondary, some young guys along the defensive line. So Geoff Collins, maybe not leaving it as good as he found it, of course, with Will Muschamp's recruits. But the young guys do look good. There's some promise there. Plenty, I think, for the next defensive coordinator to jump in. When do you remember the last time Florida had a bad defense? It's been a while. Might can go back to 2007. Of course, when they lost all those stars, also 2006 national championship team, Jarvis Moss, Brandon Seiler, Reggie Nelson, Ryan Smith, a few of those guys, Earl Everett. Some of those guys, of course, they left after 06 and 07. They played a bunch of young guys, kind of leaning kind of what maybe next year might look like. But a lot of these guys got a lot of young experience this year because of all the injuries to the older guys. So I don't think the fall off will be as much as some people think, with Florida losing 7 to 8 starters off this defense. So, of course, the most obvious replacement, and I mentioned it, Randy Shannon, who shared the defensive coordinator title with Collins and a lot of the duties as well. If you talk to people connected with the program, Randy Shannon was just as much as a big help with this defensive staff as any of them, and really help some of these players develop. We've seen the young linebackers, David Reese and Kylan Johnson, really step up, and that was Shannon's forte, was the linebackers. And excuse me, kind of a little under the weather, but I wanted to get this Gators Breakdown podcast out to you, a lot to talk about. So I just wanted to get it out there. So if you can just bear with me, I know the voice might go out and some sniffles, but we'll get through this. But of course, Randy Shannon, one of the best recruiters on the team. He's going to recruit that South Florida area just as well as anybody. He's got experience as a defensive coordinator and a head coach. We remember his time at Miami when they had those dominant defenses under him when he was defensive coordinator. He spent 6 seasons at Miami as defensive coordinator and head coach. He's coached linebackers for the majority of his last 25 years. He would slide right in. The players wouldn't have to learn a lot. With how much different from Collins to Shannon, that kind of remains to be seen. A lot of time has passed from what Randy Shannon did at Miami, and he won't have as good as athletes as he had as those early 2000 Miami teams. But he's still got plenty to work with at Florida. Maybe he blitzes more, more zone, more man. We'll see. I would still say leaning towards more man with the athletes Florida have, but we'll see if he's changed his ways from what he did at Miami and what he's learned throughout the years. As linebackers coach and defensive coordinator after he got fired from Miami. So what brings me to that, and one reason I'd like Randy Shannon to get that job is because Charlie Partridge was the Florida Atlantic coach before he got fired this past season, and they hired Lane Kiffin, of course. Shannon and Partridge worked together on the Arkansas staff. And Charlie Partridge was on the Bill King Show. You can catch me on the Bill King Show every week on Tuesday morning. Bill's based out of Nashville, national show there. But he had Charlie Partridge on this morning and talking about his firing from Florida Atlantic. And he brought up how he worked with Randy Shannon at Arkansas and how he has a history with him. Partridge's background is in defense and special teams coaching, and he's a really, really good recruiter. He was the main reason He was the main reason Alex Collins left South Florida for Arkansas, and with his time at Wisconsin, also recruited J.J. Watt to Wisconsin. So he should be a candidate to take over for Greg Nord in a special teams role, at least if he doesn't come in and help coach linebackers. Since Randy Shannon will get elevated to the defensive coordinator, in my mind, this is why this needs to happen. You can bring Charlie Partridge in on the staff. And I had a conversation with Partridge earlier today, and I can't dive into too much about what was said. Let's just say he's interested in, if Jim McElwain came calling, he would, he would be a Florida Gator coach. He would like to be on this staff, and connections on the staff say these will be upgrades. If Randy Shannon gets the defensive coordinator job, I feel very strongly that the Florida defense wouldn't drop a beat. It would be an upgrade in some ways. So Florida's got the athletes on defense. We know that. I think if you elevate Shannon, get another big time recruiter like Charlie Partridge in, and then maybe another, because Partridge, you can fit him in anywhere to kind of assemble your staff. He can be the special teams coach to take over for Nord. He can coach linebackers. He can even coach defensive line. If you want to split up him and Chris Rumpf's, jobs on the defensive line, one can coach defensive ends, one can coach defensive tackles. So I think there's a lot of things there you can do to fit Partridge in on his staff. And it would be a great, great hire for Florida to get another recruiter on the staff. We know, we hear it all the time, and I'll talk even more about recruiting coming up, but how Florida, with recruiting is kind of not Florida elite status right now. Getting Partridge in would help shore that up. So, if you're looking at a scenario for the replacing Geoff Collins, to me, that is the ideal scenario moving forward. So we're going to continue these recruiting profiles I've been doing lately on the last couple Gators Breakdown podcasts. You can check them out there. Malik Davis, I looked into, Zachary Carter, and Of course, plenty more to come as signing day gets closer. And then, of course, the last episode, the newest commit for Florida, defensive tackle Kyrie Campbell there. So this episode, we're looking at Daquon Green and Kadarius Toney. Daquon Green and Kadarius Toney, looking at the two guys who could be playmakers for Florida coming in to the 2017 cycle there. I'll start with Daquon Green from Tampa, 6'1", 185 pounds, with a 4.6 40, 4-star from 24/7, ranked the 26th wide receiver in the nation and a 28th ranked prospect in the state of Florida. Committed to Florida all the way back in July of 2015 with interest from Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, Kentucky, Miami, Michigan, North Carolina, Ohio State, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, and a few more smaller schools there. He last visited Gainesville for the South Carolina game, like many of these prospects did. And the coaches visited him last week, the week after the SEC championship game. And he will be playing. You can check him out on national TV. He will be playing in the Under Armour All-American game. This after his senior year at Tampa Bay Tech, where he hauled in 41 catches, 639 yards. That's about 15 yards a catch, and had 9 touchdowns in 8 games. In his high school career, and some good stats here, 115 career receptions, 2,255 yards, and 26 touchdowns for Daquon Green. I think if you had to go back and look at it from what you can read and what you can see, he's been impressive in just about every setting he's been in. This past summer, he competed in camps and was the top performer and at the top of the charts in most of them. When you look at those and you look at his film, he can make every catch. He catches in traffic, and the best attribute I like about him, he's shown the ability to high point and catch. I mean, he goes up and gets the ball and keeps the defender from making a play. I mean, plain and simple, he catches everything thrown his way. And another great attribute, and I really think he's making something happen after the catch. While he can catch the downfield ball, like I mentioned, catch it in traffic and go up and get it, he can also catch the short pass and make something happen after the catch, making defenders miss, and he gets upfield fast. So this is a playmaker. We've seen Jim McElwain not be afraid to play young freshman receivers. We've seen Antonio Callaway. We've seen it with Tyree Cleveland. We've even seen Freddie Swain, Joshua Hammond get some playing time. So, with Florida still needing some help on offense, Daquon Green can come in, and if he can show the ability to get on the field and make some plays early, Jim McElwain will play him. So I think looking at Daquon Green, this is the guy who can come in. If he can do the things like I mean, Florida still doesn't have a guy who can go up and high point a ball and get it, who the quarterback has the confidence in to just throw it up and that receiver can get it. Daquon Green, if he can show that early, maybe he comes in right away and catches when you need a big third down conversion. He's a receiver you go to. When you're in the red zone, if he can go up and high point the ball in the end zone, that's a receiver you can go to. So look for Daquon Green to be that type of receiver when he comes and steps on the field for the University of Florida. Next recruit we're going to dive into here on Gators Breakdown, Kadarius Toney. I really like this kid. I really do. He doesn't get a lot of hype because of the 3-star status 24/7. He is a 4-star on ESPN, but he's also from the state of Alabama, 8 Mile, Alabama. Blunt. He's from 8 Mile, Blunt, Alabama. So labeled as an athlete, committed to Florida back in May. Now the 6 foot, 175 pounder is still firm to the Gators. A lot of talk Auburn and Alabama trying to get involved. Also Georgia Tech, South Carolina, South Florida, and Ole Miss. He said he's still ready to go. He's waiting patiently on his time to go to Florida. And he will be an early enrollee. But the big question is, what will he play when he gets on campus? And quote from him, quarterback. It's quarterback all the way. It's important, but it's not honestly. It's important, but it's not honestly. If I can get on the field in any way to show the world that I can do, I'll take it. He really feels like he can be developed at Florida and really take advantage of the opportunity. So like I mentioned, he does plan to enroll in January. He last visited also the South Carolina game. And he really believes being an early enrollee will help him. For him, quote, the main thing to me is learning the plays. Once I learn the plays, I can go out there and play and do different things. What he said about Florida when he visited is a pretty good atmosphere, and the fans are right there. Everybody's supporting. I like how Florida is set up. So I think if you look at it, even LaMichael Pirine, his Alabama fellow Alabamian, however you want to say it, he tweeted out today that the coaches have told him Tony will come in and play quarterback. Right now, as I see it, if he wants to play quarterback at Florida, I think it's tough to see him get on the field right away. But maybe that's where he'll get first crack to see what he can do. Florida needs a spark, and like Michael Pirine was told, that's what he's going to come in and do. So on film, you can see he can run. He can catch at a high level as well. If you've seen some images out there from his practices at the Alabama Mississippi State or Mississippi All State game, Alabama versus the state of Mississippi All-Star game. There we go. I had trouble getting that out. But he's a playmaker. He looks like he can. If he wants to get on the field early, you can maybe see him in a Brandon Powell role in the slot, moving to the backfield as well, getting the ball in his hands. And also, if McElwain wants to get a playmaker on the field, maybe Tony would be a nice option in a wildcat formation in running situations. He's very shifty, not very fast, but fast enough. He can make things happen with the ball in his hands. Voice tackles well and looks to get upfield. And that's another thing that I like about him. I mean, it takes a lot of design runs from the shotgun there in high school there, and he gets upfield. He makes things happen. He even though defenders are in the backfield on him, he can get away. He's slippery. So if Florida needs a spark on offense, if Florida needs something to happen on offense, maybe line him up in the wildcat every now and then and see what he can do from there until he gets knows the offense a little bit better and see if he can get the passing down. The obvious comparison is going to be Treon Harris and what he looks like there. With his height being a problem, can he see the middle of the field? Can he see over the offensive line? That was Treon Harris' big problem. The middle of the field was non-existent with him at quarterback. So, can Tony find a way to maybe use some more of the middle of the field? I think that would be the biggest question there. But some numbers for him. The 40-yard dash was 4.69. So like I mentioned, not blazing speed, fast enough. 20-yard shuttle, a 4.43 vertical jump. And this is where he excelled, 41.4. So, and the best compared to what he was doing in the same time, same year, was a 44. So, there's opportunities there maybe to, for him, if he can't play quarterback, use his athletic ability, come in as an athlete. He's got a vertical jump. Maybe he can go up and catch some balls for you. So, good numbers. He's a good playmaker. I really like him. He's a jitterbug type of player, and could be a spark on this offense. He's going to come in early. He'd be a redshirt candidate. I don't know quite how much of the offense he can learn and how big of a playmaker he can show he can be in spring and fall camp. Well, we could see him at some quarterback in the spring game. I could see that and see how he handles it there. See how much, of course, can he grasp the playbook. That's a lot to ask for a true freshman there who's coming into a completely different system than what he played at in high school. He's not the ideal fit for Jim McElwain's system, but who knows? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and call him the next Lamar Jackson, but a lot of people didn't think he was fit into Bobby Petrino's style of offense, and he fits right in and gives us another dimension with his legs. So I think Kadarius Toney can really step in maybe and be a playmaker and go from there, see if he can grow from that. So Gators Breakdown, episode 30, talked about Randy Shannon and some defensive coordinator possibilities there for him and some other staffing there that could help Florida move forward with that. And the recruiting profiles of Daquon Green and Kadarius Toney. I'll mention you can share this if you don't mind. Get Gators Breakdown out there, out in the crowd, and share it, like it, comment. If you want to comment, you can follow me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. We can talk some more. You can comment on the YouTube section, on SoundCloud as well, or download on iTunes. You can subscribe and share from there, out of those locations as well. So Gators Breakdown episode 30 is in the books. Thanks for joining me, guys. Hope you have a happy holidays. We'll do another show probably next week or so, probably one more show before the holidays hit. Do our Gators, Iowa Hawkeyes breakdown heading into the bowl game. So I'm David Waters, and this has been Gators Breakdown. Thanks for joining, guys.